So let's get into paths to wealth and paths that are. I guess the first thing we should talk about is paths that aren't going to get you wealthy or rich. And I'm going to save you years of wasting your time because I spent the better part of the first 30 odd years of my life making the mistakes that just about everybody makes. Um, I don't know. When did I start working? I think I was about 9 years old, maybe eight or something. Paper route. My dad said because I wanted an allowance because all my friends got an allowance, and they were getting 25 cents, 50 cents a week. Obviously, dating myself. Yes, I'm a seasoned gentleman, a little bit older, but yeah, he wasn't about that. And he's like, "Yeah, if you want to make some money, then go out and make it. Shovel driveways, cut grass, go deliver papers." And he set me up with this route, and I remember very vividly they were paying like half a cent per delivery to the house. Uh, I didn't think it was possible to get half a cent for doing something, but literally from walking from one house to another house, from one door to another, they paid half a cent to drop that thing on their front porch. So I started early. I think I got my first part-time job in high school, or leading up to it, probably grade 8, grocery store bagging, carry-out boy, getting shopping carts and stuff like that. And they were paying about $2.65 an hour. So these are all hourly gigs, right? And the plan at the time was, you would do these things, but you didn't have any expenses as a kid. You didn't have to pay for food or rent or mortgages or utilities or any of these things. You just made the money, you kept it. Only I didn't because my parents forced me to pay rent by the time I was about 15. They called it rent, but it was more of a contribution to the household. At the end of the day, they gave me some money as a small down payment towards my first house. So I probably got everything back that I paid them in my teen years. So, it's a wash in that sense. But at the end of the day, yeah, I didn't really have that much left over, but it did pile up. And then this notion of, oh, now I've got some money starting to accumulate, whether it was $100 and you get to your first $100, you get to your first $1,000, you get to your first $2,000, and so on and so forth. Then, the notion of wealth being created starts to conjure up ideas in your head. And that's not really how it works out though, right? Because even as I progress through making more and more hourly, and as you make more and more here in Canada, they tax you on a sliding scale. So the lowest tax rate, I think it's under 35,000 right now, maybe 40,000 or something like that. It was probably closer to 26 or 28,000 when I was a young man. The lowest tax rate, they barely tax you. You pay almost nothing in taxes, and they start to stack the tax rate higher and higher the more you make more money. So, that was like one of the first red pilling moments for me. Unplugging from those lies was, yeah, chase excellence and make more money, and you'll always have more money. Only you didn't, because the more money you made, the more they would tax you, which is funny as hell because I'm the guy that says chase excellence, not women. But the government itself, the way that they've structured the taxation system is they've structured it in such a way that they discourage you from chasing excellence because the more money you make, the more money you pay in taxes. So you arguably have to work harder. And I mean, there's ways to work smarter, obviously, but you have to work harder to earn more of that money and keep it and deal with it in a more intelligent way as you start to accumulate it. So I guess by my 20s, I started to realize, I had more than one car at that time. I'd gone through a couple of cars. I was probably on my second or third motorcycle by then. I was riding sport bikes. So summertime was sport bikes. Wintertime, I had a car. Car was usually a piece of shit. The sport bikes was, where all the fun was had. And I think I was in England for 4 or 5 months because my parents went back. I was about 21, 22 or something like that. Didn't like it there. And I came back to Canada, got another job. Job, by the way, is an acronym. J.O.B. stands for just over broke. Never forget that. Whenever you go out there and you get a job anywhere, it's engineered, and I think more so today than any other time in history, because you can go back to my granddad's era and my great granddad's era, and for them, they had a very, very nice life, comparatively speaking to today's inflation adjusted, with a nice house paid off for, a family, everything was taken care of. My Nana on my dad's side, so my grandmother in the UK would have stayed home. She didn't work. Great grandfather as well. So arguably back then, you could have a JOB, you'd stay with the same company, like my granddad, for example, he worked with the Royal Air Force for pretty much forever, and then when he did his time and he was able to get out and retire and get his pension, he started doing random things. He opened up a pub and a few other things like that, but they lived quite well back then, comparatively speaking to today. So having a job, again, just over broke, is really just over broke today. There are certain jobs that do pay well. I'll be completely honest with you, and I'll get into paths that create wealth in a moment. But for example, um, I do a lot of private consults. If you guys are interested, you can find my stuff on the website at RichCooper.ca. But my rate's quite high. So the kind of guys that I deal with are usually entrepreneurs, tech guys, engineers, lawyers, doctors, athletes. I've even dealt with some politicians and B and C level, like actors and stuff like that. And one of the things that became quite noticeable when you're dealing with these guys is the way that they structure their lives and manage their money and their cash flow and everything sort of tied around that is exponentially different. Like um, an engineer, for example, that might work at one of the FANG companies. If you don't know what FANG is, it's like what is it? Facebook, Amazon, Apple, Netflix, Google. It's FAANG. It's a common acronym known in the tech world. And some of these guys, they'll make 800, $900,000 a year, like as an employee is having a job, like a job. So there's some exceptions to the rule, right? So I'll get into the paths that do create wealth in a moment, but the vast majority of the ones that you're going to find, like 95, 90% of the stuff out there where you see these reports in the news and the media or on social media, and they're all, oh, the job numbers are up, there's more jobs than ever before, there's more people employed than ever before, blah blah blah. Yeah, but they're still broke as shit, right? The Even with the minimum wage going up, I don't even know what it is today right now here. It's probably about 15 bucks an hour or something like that. It depends on the province. But again, when I was a kid, it was like 275. So in and around 15 bucks, we'll call it. These kids, they don't have, I'm calling them kids, but these young men and women, they don't have enough money to really live in the kind of way that they want. That's why you see, young girls today turning to things like OnlyFans to sell pictures of themselves to creeps online, or simps, we'll just call them simps, to simps online, to try to, pay bills and make ends meet, or they'll get sugar daddies and they'll go and get involved with older guys, whatever. And a lot of these guys, they're struggling, and the hustle with a job, job, just over broke, generally doesn't cut it for most people. I had a conversation briefly with a guy in one of my junior communities, and there's a challenge that came up, and some of you guys watching right now might be in that group. And it's a fitness challenge, and Moff is organizing, and he's like, we need everybody to buy in, and then the pocket's paid out, sort of thing. And there's always like a more unseasoned guy, a junior guy. He's in his early 20s, and he's like, well, it's $100 to buy. Well, let me do it next week when I got my paycheck. And it's like, for fuck's sakes, trying to organize these things and put it together and not being able to scrape together like $100 to me is a huge red flag. Right? There's something wrong in your life if you have to wait till the next paycheck. Um, if somebody says to me that's in one of my more senior tiers where guys are seasoned or should at least be seasoned and have their life sorted out, they're into their 30s and 40s, and they say something like, yeah, I want to come to your conference, Rich, but I gotta wait till like November 10th or something like that. I'll grab a ticket then. It's like, wrong room. The indicator to you should be your ability to buy, your purchasing power, your ability to maneuver, your ability to make choices and decisions, your ability to acquire things, to buy yourself into rooms, to take the vacations you want, to take the time off you want, to drive the car that you want. There's so many guys out there right now that are living paycheck to paycheck. They're just over broke job. And, they're thinking that if I just work a little bit more, if I have a little extra income somewhere, a side hustle, if I go drive Uber or Lyft or something like that. I looked at the economics of Uber and Lyft. When that came out, I was genuinely interested, right? Like, I'm like, huh, that's interesting. We have this decentralized economy now where the gatekeepers to certain industries have all been removed. If you want to publish a book, you can do it on Amazon. I did, right? I didn't need the help of any publisher to put this out there, and I've sold, I don't know, 150,000, like, lots and lots of copies of this shit. Like, there's loads of these copies out there, and I didn't need anybody's permission. I just did it. I put it on there. I mean, you have a guy on Fiverr, do the design. You want to start up a podcast, you can upload it to Spotify. You want to start up a taxi company, you can get a car and drive for Uber, sort of thing. You want to become a hotelier, you acquire some property and put it on Airbnb and rent it out, right? There's gatekeepers in the past that have been dismissed. They've been removed. You want to start up a TV show, YouTube. You don't have to go to a cable station to do any of that stuff anymore. So again, J.O.B.s, just over broke, will not get you rich. Do it for a short period of time. There's certain scenarios where it may be advantageous to do it. Like, for example, I didn't know that I was going to start up a debt settlement company, but the fact that I worked in credit and collections for, I don't know, what was it, 8, 9, 10 years, somewhere between 8 and 10 years, but for the most part of my 20s, I learned the industry like a back of my hand, right? I started as, the guy on the phone in the call center, became a supervisor, became a branch manager, ended up doing all of my reporting into the vice president in the region, got to spend some time mentoring with the president of the company. So I got involved in all kinds of programs there. So as you sort of climb the corporate ladder, like, if you're going to work at J.O.B., climb the corporate ladder, for fuck's sake. Like, make sure your opportunity to progress and move up occurs. It may not always occur within the same company. Sometimes you have to leave that company to go to a competitor to get paid what you're worth. There's an old saying that employers use, and it's one business owner speaking to another business owner, and they say, "How much do you pay an employee?" And the answer is, "As little as possible." That is the angle that the employer approaches it from. I need to pay this guy as little as I possibly can, because I have overhead, rent, I have a building I have to pay for, mortgage, insurance, E&O, accounting department, legal fees. Like, they have all of these expenses, and there has to be profit there for them. So the angle for most employers is pay people as little as they possibly have to. That's why you see a lot of these corporations now, like McDonald's, for example, announced in the last year or so that they're opening up locations that are fully automated. They don't need anybody flipping burgers, putting fries in the fryer. It's all robotic, 24/7. Nobody calls in sick. Nobody gets pregnant. Nobody's fucking anybody and complaining to HR. There's none of that stuff. They deal with none of the deleterious consequences of having employees in the organization. And they've been running this experiment. And I think what you're going to see is more and more locations either retrofitted or converted, or all new locations are going to be robotic. I don't know if it'll all be drive through, or you walk in or whatever, you push a button and some shit will pop up through a fucking escalator or an elevator. It's like, here's your fries and Happy Meal or whatever. So you you're going to start seeing more and more of that, which is going to lead to more automation, more robotics, and fewer people working. And then you've got these socialists in the government that are saying, keep raising minimum wage. And then employers are like, fuck that. I can't pay, somebody 25 bucks to flip a burger. That means it's going to cost somebody coming to my restaurant, $30 for a burger. And the inflation just keeps driving it up. So, this whole vicious cycle of what goes on with government policy versus companies trying to respond to it to make a profit. Because make no mistake, you're a publicly traded company. Your job is to return a profit. You have a fiduciary duty to return a profit to your shareholders. You cannot fuck that up. If you fuck that up, you lose shareholders. You lose market share. Your stock price drops. You, as a CEO, the C-suite jobs in that realm ain't going to be sitting in those seats next year. It is what it is. I really hope you guys enjoyed that clip. If you want to watch the full-length podcast, you can find that over here, that clip's from. If you're newer to the channel, make sure you hit subscribe over here, and pin down below in the top comment, you'll find a bunch of useful links to my website, my supplement line, books, and a bunch of other stuff. Have an amazing day. Peace out.